I love that we're just ignoring the fact that we were both singing along to the theme there.
Wah, 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 wah.
As ludicrously as possible. And just being like, we are adults.
Trekking up North podcast.
Oh, that's what we need to do. We need to do it so we can get the lyrical credits, like Roddenberry did with the original series music.
Oh,
we
we
need to put
need
lyrics
lyrics.
about trekking up north to the Voyager theme. But
We-
it's all sung in that, like, Mr. Hoppy voice.
We will review a Star Trek episode.
Fire until we run out. Yeah,
I'm
it's
wearing
gonna be
my
beautiful,
tightest.
everyone.
I'm wearing my tightest pants. That is the only way.
You're wearing pants? Well.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Adequate. Should I do it as Zap Brannigan? Should I try that again? I'll do it as Zap
That makes
Brannigan.
me kiff by default, and I don't know how I feel about that.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Adequate. Our ongoing mission to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. Kiff, I made it with a woman. To seek out
Inform the men.
to seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable like Leela. To boldly go where most of my scants have gone before. I sounded like Doug McClure. Hey.
It's gonna.
I'm Doug McClure. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. Welcome everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers throughout this planet Earth. Welcome to a live episode of Trekking Up North. I am one of your hosts, Captain Goodwill, and joining me as ever is the delectable Geesian from the planet Hog. I couldn't find a kazoo on Saturday. I will find one. It's science
Where were you
officer.
looking for a kazoo?
The Tiger.
Where would you buy
The
one?
Tiger
Oh,
shop at the
Tiger,
Metro
yeah,
set.
okay.
Yeah,
that would have one.
the one where it's like IKEA but for shit. It's science officer Synoiz.
All right, bitches. Yeah. I love that you introduce yourself as Captain. That's like, are
Captain.
you trying to slide obscure letters in there to make it better in Scrabble? Or
I
somebody
get-
just be like, I can get
The
a C in
more
there now."
letters in my name, the more letters in my title, the more they will pay me.
That's it. The wider the director's seat has to be. But
Speaking of wide, how?
wow, the weekend hasn't even started. Goodwill, you've been enjoying yourself.
Speaking of wide, speaking of wide, we had possibly the busiest charity quiz last week. A huge thank
so
you.
glad I wasn't there. I'm so glad I decided to just give it
Several
a miss.
panic attacks were had.
I had a fucking panic attack.
A few
It was
inches
that
were
busy.
lost. A few
I was
inches were
hosting
lost
it.
from my waist. The amount of people that crushed me against the table, going back to their table, and I'm sat there and I'm like, this is a fire hazard.
It was proper cinema/theatre sort of like irony, where basically as soon as you take your seat, everyone needs you to stand up to get past, and it basically every single time you sat down, it was like, nope, more people to come. But you did take over a table right at the front, which in hindsight maybe wasn't.
There was
the
not
best
enough.
plan.
To be fair, there were not enough tables, and then
Yeah.
the dog came. So we were the table
Did
with
he?
pets.
I wondered why he was so happy, but yeah, no, it was lovely seeing the dog on the table, no less. How gauche. No, it was a very, very good charity quiz. It was insanely busy, and it was hilarious because me and Jess hadn't expected that many people to turn up, because we were like, oh, it's January, everyone's like got no money, or there's nothing to do, the weather's been horrible this week. And then to have probably the biggest turnout we've had.
Yes.
all coming, and I guess it was just people going like, "Hey, yeah, January's a bit shit. Let's go and have some fun and see some people," and
it
that's
was
exactly what
it was
everyone did.
trauma bonding for everyone because we were like, we are so miserable. No one's seen daylight in at least 22 days. We need to like be together in the basement of a building in Sunderland to sort of get over this collectively. And it was so much fun. It was so much fun. A huge, huge congratulations to you and Jess for pulling that off. I could not have done that. Like how you kept going and
I
plowed
know
through
I will
the
admit, like
children.
yeah, it was basically the amount of noise in the venue and the amount of like screaming kids at other events within the same venue, like moving past and stuff. It was
Yeah,
it was pretty intense. Like I did actually just freak out towards the end. Like you know that thing where you have a tolerance for an environment where you basically can go, cool, okay, this is a bit uncomfortable, but I'll sort of mask it and cover it up. And I basically broke towards the end. I was just like, okay, I kind of can't focus anymore. So I was able to hand over to Jess and be like, hey, Jess, could you just sort this out? Because basically, the way the quiz worked is that we had this intensely very overstimulating environment that obviously as a kid I couldn't deal with, but as an adult I've learned how to deal with uh, hyperstimulation. But enough about Berlin. Um, but yeah, but then at the end we had like a three-way tie, and we were
oh,
like, oh, we've only got a plan for a two-way tie. Because you can't really go, hey, here's like a one question. Whoever gets it right first wins, because it seems a bit unfair, and
yeah.
it's that kind of, oh, whoever we ask first has a better chance of doing it. So yeah, so Jess was kind enough to just take over in that moment of going, yes, let's fix this problem that hasn't ever happened before. I don't think we've ever had a three-way tie. I think
It
we've only had one
was
instance of the winner not being about 5 points ahead.
it was truly a unique night. Truly a unique night, and that will only be toppled by next month's quiz. One can only hope.
Which is on Valentine's Day, no less, which should
Valentine's
be hilarious.
Day. So more trauma bonding is going to happen on Valentine's Day. But a huge congratulations to you and Jess for that. And yeah, it's been a busy week, hasn't it? It's been a
You have been
very
really busy. Like the fact that you are doing this podcast after the crazy hectic week you had. Like, because with the new role you're going to, you're having to walk like
seven
how
miles a
long?
day.
7 miles. Is that each way?
No,
Is it?
I'm
So
not
it's like
my
3.5
grandparents.
each way.
It's three
Okay.
and a half miles each way, but
Yeah.
it's been in
No, no,
freezing
but
rain,
from
winds.
going from someone who is able to just drive everywhere, going
Yeah.
to sort of like, hey, I'm going to walk 7 miles a day, is well done, well done. It's like getting back to the gym in
It's
January, but
I
involuntarily.
I'm back on the employment ladder. I am working two jobs at the moment, for those that don't know, as well as doing Twitch and as well as doing Trekking up north. So I have a busy schedule. The house is paying for it at the moment. There's so much laundry. But no, we are here to continue our review of Star Trek Starfleet Academy with episode 4, Vox in Excelso. And I have to say, there has been a little bit of controversy with this episode, but on the whole, I actually enjoyed this episode. This reminded me a lot of episode 2, low
Yeah.
stakes, not a lot of action, but a lot of character development on a character that I think me and you were quite interested to see being
Yeah.
fleshed out.
I'm really happy. Like I'm going to admit, okay, I'm going to ask you how you felt about it, but I actually loved it. Like I'm in that moment. I've only watched it about like half an hour ago, simply because my day and
It's
week have been
very
hectic as
fresh.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very fresh in my mind. But I think this has been my favorite episode of the series so far because it hasn't hung too much on Caleb. It's used Caleb as like a sort of another character
Yes.
without it making it his episode or about his themes and whatnot. And it hasn't relied on Aki that much, and I quite like it. Whereas it's managed to flesh out the other characters a bit more, and obviously more the Doctor. So it works really well in that regard. But it's more the fact of, like you say, it's probably got the most action out of everything except episode one, but it's nothing to do really with the plot. Like it has a battle at the end, which is probably the most dramatic thing we've had since episode one, but it's kind of it happens, but it's not the whole exciting part of the episode. The exciting part of the episode is the journey and Caleb's backstory. Jaden's backstory. Yeah.
I I'm going to surprise you.
Mm.
At first, I struggled with it.
Mm.
Not because of the story, just there were certain things and the way it was shot, like the way it's been directed, I struggled with. But upon review, I actually feel that this is a very take away some of the controversy that's been raised and that we'll get into later on. But I feel that this was an incredibly strong episode when it came to character development and lore dumping. So, and one of the greatest highlights I have from this episode, and this is going to surprise you, is Laura Thok.
Yeah.
This really painted her in a completely different light. And this is what we were hoping since episode one, because one of the criticisms we had was she was just the shouty drill instructor. And what we saw here, overall, most of the episode was calm, quietness. And then when she did have the speaking role, it was calm, quiet, it was thoughtful, it was full of wisdom. This is exactly what I wanted from this character. We got a little bit of a fleshing out of Thok's character as well. But the fact that this was a Jaden-centric story and episode was brilliant. And it just... the one thing we have not had over the last 9 years is a good Klingon episode in Star Trek, in new Star Trek.
We really haven't. Like, did we have many in Enterprise? Going even that far back?
Yes, we did in Enterprise. We had Ruapenthe and everything like that. But
because in season one we got a lot of nice Klingon stuff. But
with New Trek, there hasn't really been. I mean, take away season one Discovery, that hasn't, and like Summer Discovery, but that hasn't
take away all of Discovery.
Yeah, take away all of Discovery. But it's like this is a Klingon centric world building after the burn, where we learn a lot about what happened to the Klingon Empire in the 120 years since the burn, and it is catastrophic. And I know that there is a lot of heat online towards Kurtzman and his ilk in basically saying, yet again you have destroyed another valuable race in Star Trek. And it's like, hey, Vulcan wasn't destroyed. It was only destroyed in the Kelvin timeline. It's not destroyed in the Prime. So calm thou tits. With Kronos, though, it really paints the impact, the true catastrophic result of the burn, where it's like, hey, some alien races had power plants on the planets that were powered by dilithium, and those blew up as well as the ships. And what we see is like Kronos was just more or less destroyed as a result of the burn. So this once proud Empire race have now become a travelling band of refugees, nomadic, and have no home to call their own. And they haven't had a home for 120 years. So, it is a species on the brink of extinction. And it plays into why Laura Thok also exists. Because in order for a species to propagate, you need to start making babies. And, to see Laura Thok exist, and it's a fact of like, the stigma around her mother fell in love with a Jem'Hadar warrior, and the stigma that she faced because she never chose a Klingon male. And it sort of plays into the effect of, if your species is dying, think of the stigma around her mother for choosing a Jem'Hadar instead of a Klingon as well.
That's exactly it, though. But it's also an episode about pride and an episode about Klingon culture and the idea of it needs to be you need to respect like other people's culture rather than just going, hey, this is what's best for you. And that's
Yes.
kind of the arc of the story of basically going, yes, but Klingons don't want that. Like Klingons would prefer to die rather than live on handouts. And you have to accept that. If that is a cultural boundary for, like for a race or something, it's like going, yeah, like whereas we might have the flexibility in our morality or in our sort of like situation to go, oh well, I'll just kill someone because it'll save me kind of thing, like self-defense and all that lark. But that's something that we can do, whereas that's a bad example for the Klingons, obviously murder, but like it's that idea where someone else might not be able to, so expecting it of them is foolish. But
I want to.
I will say though, I did find it. I think it's a problem in New Trek where the stakes always have to be so high. It always has to be, oh, the burn affected the entire galaxy. And you're like, did it need to for the plot to happen? Like, oh, the Romulans, oh, their planet exploded, so they're all exiled and stuff, and they're all destroyed and whatnot. And like you say in the Kelvin timeline, but who cares about that? But like how doing it again with the Klingons, whereas when we look back at like Golden Age, like TNG and DS9, it would have been enough for it just to be one house of Klingons. If it was literally one Klingon world was on the brink of destruction and they needed to find something else, you could build the plot around that rather than taking us to a timeline that goes, yep, the Klingons are dead as well. Like the Klingons are like refugees across the galaxy. It's like, well, no, it could just be some Klingons, like but
This is
I
this
don't
is
know. It annoys me that the
this
stakes
is
are always so high.
this is my fundamental issue with everything after season 3 of Discovery. Sorry about that. They are making so much noise outside. For those that don't know, I am having emergency gasworks outside my home. It is currently 8:19 at night, and they are still
Can you tell
working.
them while they're in the ground to put the bloody broadband in?
Oh, it's in.
Oh,
Obviously, it's
it's in.
in.
Okay, right, fair enough.
Well,
No,
of
no, I
course,
thought
it's in. I'm here.
no, but I mean, like, I thought you were doing the thing where you couldn't actually do cable broadband because they hadn't installed it in your street or whatnot.
Oh, the Virgin Media pit. No,
Yeah,
that's
because
not. That's over there. They're
well,
there.
that's it. Because I
They're
remember
there.
you
Yeah.
complaining like a year or two ago about like, oh, I can't. The cables aren't there for me to have this. They need to dig up all the things, and I'm like, well, while they've got the ground open, like.
I think this is when I moved in 2020. I had literally just renewed my contract with Virgin Media, moved 2 weeks later, and then they went, you can't have it because we were in such a rush to sign off these houses because they're new build houses that we tarmacked over the pit. And if you want it, we have to dig up the entire road. So, but they are over there on
Like
my driveway. They are literally on my driveway. I'm really glad. I've just said this to Synoiz. I was going to extend my fence, and I'm really glad I did it because exactly where my fence was going to be is now a 6-foot deep crevasse, not a hole, a crevasse. All right. My God, shut up. And yeah, so
luckily we cannot hear it. No one at home can hear this, can they?
I can hear it. All I can hear is. So I apologize. I've got noise cancelling set to maximum. But what I was gonna say is one of my fundamental issues with Trek since season 3 of Discovery is the burn and the way it happened. So when I first watched season 3 of Discovery in 2020. My prevailing theory was the burn was the detonation of an omega particle or multiple omega particles that rendered warp drive useless, therefore cutting off key Federation allies and the Federation itself and Earth itself and stuff like that because you can't go to warp with the damage, with the effect of subspace. And I feel that for that to be the burn, it would have tied in nicely with Voyager, and it would have let us see the consequences of detonating an omega particle. The fact
that it could tie into TNG and the whole
yes,
like
and the warp speed limits,
yeah,
and the fact that it was just a little babby cried that, but.
That thing, it almost feels like the whole what's that crap phrase from The Last Jedi? Subverting expectations.
Subverting expectations.
It's like nobody wants this at all. Like I've seen the new Silent Hill film. It's fucking awful. That's going to be my first F-bomb of the thing. It
And
is. I'm not going to go into it, okay? But it is insulting to a fan of the video game Silent Hill 2, that movie.
it's the fake
And all
beard.
of it seems to be no, that I fake beard is like literally not even a factor in terms of all my complaints because it's so bad. It, it's so weird. Like you could change the character names and just get away with it being a new property. That's how
Yeah.
different it is to the thing. Like, but it like the whole premise of Silent Hill 2 is he goes to Silent Hill. He goes to Silent Hill because he's got a letter off his dead wife. In this one, they're not married. It's just a girl that he moved in with a while ago, and she's like, and she's not really dying, and she's not really dead. But then he finds out she is actually dead. Oh, it's awful. But yeah, but that was all of the decisions made in that cause it to be bullshit. Feel like they're like, well, people are going to be expecting this, so we won't do it. And you're like, why would you do this? Why would
And
you adapt something and then go, ah, we're not going to have that? Like, it's the same as like the Kelvin timeline where it's like, hey, we want to do Star Trek, but we want to just forget what Trek's about and just put loads of battles and explosions in. And you're like, do you want to make something new instead? You know, like what?
and this is the thing, like they essentially with season 3 of Discovery created a apex, like a pivot point in the Star Trek timeline where it's like this is a catastrophic galactic wide event and billions died and Star Trek as you know it will never be the same, but we're also going to try and make Star Trek feel like Star Trek that you used to love. And it's like those two cannot mix, those two cannot work. And
Yeah.
what we are seeing with Starfleet Academy is sort of like a for want of a better term, like a version of that where the stuff that worked pre-burn with the Federation in terms of like giving asylum on a planet in Federation space and being these galactic philanthropists and stuff like that no longer work in a pre-burn galaxy. And Starfleet and the Federation itself has to adapt to the new way of thinking and a new way of understanding species. And what we see in this episode is that 800 years of Klingon relations, Klingon, issues, they have to approach it a different way. They have to go, our way is not always the right way. We have to, we have to respect that they would rather die than accept charity. We have to respect their ways, their beliefs, and and the ending, which I personally found cheesy, and I personally found it was a little bit patronizing to the Klingons. But they tried something different to appease them and go, and basically get on the Klingons' way of thinking. So what we are seeing, we've seen it with episode 2 with Beta Z, is the Federation being humbled into believing the ways of the past are not necessarily going to be the ways of the future. And if you want to survive, you also have to adapt to change. You have to be receptive to. Oh my God! I do apologize if you're hearing banging.
No, I can't. It's exactly that. It's the idea the Federation is meant to be a mingling of cultures. It's meant to be something that kind of supports but respects and understands all of the cultures within it.
Yes.
And what Starfleet have forgotten about, like the idea of if you lock yourself in your own house for too long, you forget how to be social. You know, like you kind of
Exactly.
go, hey, how do you operate in this environment? Like, or if you've been out of work for a while, you kind of go, oh, how do we deal with like 9 a.m. starts or something? And it's all that,
Badly.
and it's good. It's kind of especially when you go a bloody 3.5 mile walk. But it's but yeah,
My legs
but
are amazing. What do you want?
they're like this big, chunky thing.
I've got
But,
calves you can bounce a penny off. Go on.
do you have a penny?
Wow, that's a lot.
Okay, yeah, it's long January, but yeah, but it's that idea of Starfleet also having to learn, rather than being like, oh, Starfleet's always right and we're imposing our sort of morality on different races and stuff, and oh, aren't the Klingons silly for sort of like being warlike and stuff, and oh, aren't the Betazoids like silly for believing this kind of thing? And it's kind of going, no, if you want to work with other people, you need to be empathetic to other people and
Yes.
understand their way of doing it. So the end was cheesy, where basically the whole situation is Klingon Empire's in ruins. All of them are like in refugee ships. And the Federation basically own a planet within its jurisdiction that is perfect for them. And they want to go, hey, Klingons, you can have this planet and you can live there and it'll all be great. And the Klingons are like, nope, we can't accept something that you give us because that is dishonorable. And the Federation are like, take it, you fucks. Like, come on. Like, you're going to
They
die
don't
otherwise.
understand. And
Yeah,
this
and
is the
it's
thing.
purely they say, the Klingons are like, we would rather die than dishonor ourselves accepting like a gift from not an enemy, but someone who we're not really affiliated with, when they're such a proud species. And the end of the episode is realizing that, well, maybe the Federation needs to sort of bend the knee a little bit,
Yeah.
show respect, and go, how about we attack you, you fight us, and then you take the planet as like spoils of war. So we basically, and it is cheesy because no one gets hurt, and it's like,
It's
oh,
all low yield weapons
yeah,
and like,
and
yeah.
the Klingon like leader at the end is just kind of like, oh well, we claim this planet for you, blah blah blah, blah. And he knows what's going on. It's very tongue in cheek, and it's
I
it's
forgot
very
about
tacky.
that. We claim this planet as spoils of war. That
Yeah.
33-second war that you have
Yeah.
just had.
And it is, but it's almost. But the fact is, in desperation, it's the fact of it's allyship, and bringing cultures together is all about the little things. It's about baby steps of
Yeah.
rebuilding things, like we saw with the Betazoids. It's with this one, it's the idea of the Klingons are fully aware of what the situation is, but it's done in such a way that it shows that the Federation understand their needs and are trying to respect it, even if they fucked it up. It's like speaking German in a foreign country that isn't shit Canada, where they'll kind of go, "Oh, you're trying our language. That's cool, thank you, but you're terrible at it." It's that idea where you give effort for them trying, and that's the beginning of a relationship.
Did you
But
know?
yeah,
Did you know we have French viewers?
not anymore.
It's like 0.02%, but they're there.
0.02%.
They're
That's half a
there.
person, Goodwill. That's
Someone
half
in
a person.
someone in like Bordeaux is like, merde.
It's someone's arm. It's like this guy's got a French arm. It's like, where did you get that croissant? But no, Elder Goodwill. This is my French arm. It's just like sort of like wine. Just like, stop trying to give me
No.
wine.
Oui, oui.
Pan au chocolat.
Bonbon. I don't know French. I'm civilized. But we
We definitely have no French viewers now.
I wonder if we have people from Birmingham. But
They can't. They'll be bashing the bloody screen with clubs or something. Like I've been to Birmingham. I love that all I do is take the piss out of Birmingham. It is just like I had one bad experience there about 30 years ago, and I'm never going to let the city forget it.
One
So-
day, Jamie Gallagher of Destination Trek and the rest of the Destination Trek family are going to go, do you know what? Let's go back to the NEC next year and we're going to have to do a show from Birmingham.
I will do a panel and explain why Birmingham is shit.
You're going to turn
I
up.
will do
You're going to
this.
turn up in a sequin hazmat suit. I can feel it. It is going to be beautiful and protective. And all we're
I'm
going
going
to
to bring
hear,
bloody Odo with me. That's the security level.
all
I
we're
need.
going to hear is you in the suit going,
Oh, it's great to be in Birmingham today. Thank you so much for having me.
but
I am indifferent to being in Birmingham today. Imagine us doing a panel and being like, well, I could be other places,
Why
but instead I'm
Birmingham
here.
doesn't belong in the Federation? we
God,
get
what were they called from Enterprise? The villains. What were the villains called in season 3 of Enterprise?
the Zindi.
Yeah, why didn't the Zindi aim for Birmingham? Poor Florida. Like,
I mean,
Florida
so what
is
we
slightly
learn.
bigger.
And it's easier to shoot. So what we learn in
You know what
What we-
annoys me? The fact that YouTube censors haven't triggered yet, and yet if we mention certain other places, they immediately will, and it's just
that's the only
there's
long
something wrong with the
pause.
world.
That is the only long pause we are ever going to have on Trekking Up North, and it was because we celebrated the destruction of Florida. But what we learn in this episode of Starfleet Academy is we learn a lot more about the destruction of Kronos. It's
Well, we learn of the destruction of Kronos.
It's Kronos, not Chonos.
Maybe that's the French way of pronouncing it. Kronos.
And we finally get to learn a lot more about Jaden and his family during the flashbacks from 16 months prior to Starfleet Academy. And I find it all really interesting, the fact that the Klingons are nomadic. They're all out in their... You know, they're all in refugee ships. They're all got their own ships.
They've got
the caravans and stuff like that. Yeah, the Romany Klingons. And that's definitely not to be meant to be offensive because they literally are roaming.
No, that's it. They are basically nomadic. They've become nomadic. They've become like traveling things. Like we see Jaden's parents, like
on Krios
away.
Prime,
yeah, they just move to the next planet. They kind of stay there for a bit, and then
but it's wonderful because we get to see a Klingon family dynamic. And we get to see more of Jaden's backstory with his brother, and
is
the
that
fact
the first time of a Klingon family dynamic in Star Trek, including like the mother? Because I can't think of any.
I mean, apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, and you guys can probably back me up in the comments and on the live chat. Worf has a son.
Yeah. What? When did that happen?
Apparently about 35 years ago. I don't know. But apparently he had I thought he just adopted blue barrels, but yeah, apparently he has a son. And there was a scene with a father, son, and a Klingon child. But
apparently he appeared various times in TNG, but we wouldn't know anything about that.
Neither would Worf. But we
I have a son. Yeah.
But we see this Klingon family dynamic and they are happy. But we see that the brother of Jaden, unlike his father, is actually supportive of Jaden wanting to become a healer, not a warrior. He doesn't want to be a warrior. He doesn't want to follow the Klingon traditions. He wants to be a healer. And he feels that where he is at the moment with his family and his father wanting him to become a warrior and make his first kill, that he feels trapped and there is no escape. And one day when his brother comes back from market and there's a Starfleet transponder and they're saying, we're recruiting for the Academy again after 120 years, he feels that there is finally an avenue to become who he wants to become, to learn and be who he wants to be. And what we see is the age-old adage of a Klingon father going, it's typical of every family.
It's a really good dynamic, and I think they address it really well in this episode. Like I haven't seen what any nonsense is being posted online about it, but it's like it's really interesting because I will say it's not typically Klingon, because the Klingons that we know from the Golden Age, all of them would be like, well, we just kill you then. Or as in we would just exile you.
It's great to see an evolution in that stage as well, in that area, yeah.
You wonder if it's because of desperation, though. You wonder because they've had to become nomadic, that the family's just like, okay, well, we'd usually just murder you or like kick you out kind of thing, but we will adapt kind of thing, and it's learning new ways to adapt.
Yeah, we are actually live, Peaches. So
we are live, but it's I don't really know how to fit the recent news today into the discussion.
We don't know, but
I'm very sad
hello.
about it, And I
Hello
haven't
to
processed it
everybody
yet.
in the chat. Hello to Beth. Hello to Peaches. Hello to the Magnificent Shed. Hello to Christopher Snyder. Hello to everybody. We are live. You can tell because it is 8:36. Right.
36 minutes. Well,
Now that we have confirmed that, but yeah, it's the evil.
I think it's the idea of his brother, the relationship that Jaden has with his brother it's a really sweet one because it's something I can relate to, like having an older brother who doesn't necessarily always get you, but gets you enough and kind of
Yeah.
goes, who goes, hey, you hate this, so I'll shield you from this or I'll do that. Like it's that.
See,
That
you have
dynamic that works
you
really
have
well.
that dynamic. I don't.
that's it.
I don't have that. Yeah.
But the flip side of it is that you become dependent upon your brother. Like it's the fact
Really?
of with me, I'm very much kind of like I don't know, I kind of live my life feeling like my brother is this buffer for me of going like, oh, if anything happens, I can turn to my brother. And it's wonderful to have it, but it is a safety net, which prevents me from maybe being as adult in my life as I probably could be. But it is that idea where when you have a bond, it just makes it more scary, the idea of losing it. And I think
Yes, I get
that's
that.
the
Yeah.
situation. And what we see in this is we see that like Jaden's brother gets him, and I don't know if it implies that his brother knows that he's queer or something, but it's the fact that he goes, hey, you want to be a healer, you want to be a pacifist, you don't want to do all of the rituals and stuff of the family, and you're honoring where you can. Like he sees him there, that he's like going, look, you're doing what you can, but you are going, oh, but I'm not going to go hunting, I'm not going to kill an animal or whatnot, but I'll do everything else, which is, well, like we say at the end of the episode, it's the middle ground, which I think Jaden hits quite well. But then and his brother's kind of like, hey, you like Starfleet technology and you like healing stuff. I found some Starfleet technology, so here
Yeah.
you go, you can have it, and we'll keep it a secret. And I like that. I like the fact that his brother's very progressive Klingon and is able to bridge the gap there while still being honorable in his father's eyes. But then the loss of his brother, where his brother gets injured on a hunt, and Jaden's in this situation of going, well, no, he doesn't get injured in a hunt. He literally gets attacked at a market because he's trying to buy a Starfleet. What's it? A dermal regenerator.
A dermal regenerator. Yeah.
Yeah, dermal regenerator.
Which is a
for
cruel
Jaden.
irony when you think
But
about
that's
it.
it. But the irony is that he gets attacked like mortally because he's trying to get Starfleet technology that is now forbidden in the Klingon Empire because they've closed themselves off to any help from anywhere. And Jaden is in a situation of going, but we could save him if we had this Starfleet technology. And we see the and we see the lesson that we have later on the episode, which is like, no, his parents would prefer him to die honorably from his wounds than be healed using the tools of an enemy. And Jaden kind of struggles with this, like the idea of going, but why? Why wouldn't you do it? And that's what allows him to go into the debate later on in the episode with the knowledge he does of going, no, that's not how Klingons work. I have learnt this firsthand by seeing it, that you can't just, because it's like, why the fuck would the Klingons not accept this planet? Do they want to die? Why won't they accept our help? And it's like, because they are different to us. Well, them. It's difficult because Jaden very much is in with Starfleet values.
But it's great because it is just such a lore dump into the 32nd century Klingon race, where because for the Golden Age we did get a lot of Klingon lore. I mean, I recently watched Birthright Part 1 and 2 from the Next Generation, and that deals a lot.
Klingons and Cardassians are probably the best defined races in Star Trek, thanks to TNG and DS9.
But Birthright deals with a similar situation where, hey, the Romulans attacked Khitomer. You thought all the Klingons died. They didn't. They were kidnapped, taken prisoner, interrogated, and then when they realized that they couldn't get any information from them, they decided to let them go. But the Klingons refused because there was more dishonor in in being captured, taken prisoner, and then released for
Yeah.
not being used. So they had nowhere to go. And, you know, it was that quandary of we can't disconnect ourselves from the server because that's dishonorable. We can't go back to the Empire because we would be seen as dishonorable for being captured. What do we do? And they just decided to stay on the planet where the prison was and just live out the rest of their life, build a life for themselves there, away from everyone, and, you know, and eventually start having children and just say, you know, this is a peaceful life, we live in coexistence. And it's, you know, whereas, you know, when you think other races like humanity would look at that and go, no, you fucking go back, it's fine, it's only dishonor, where it's like, you don't realize how fundamental honor is to a Klingon. You don't realize that it is everything to a Klingon, and to not have honor is to just not be alive, is to not be Klingon.
Like the parallel is like, imagine in British culture, like, well, sort of very much like Caucasian British culture, where we take it for granted, but our freedom is a fundamental thing. Like, yes, we
Yes.
don't have much freedom when we have to all go to work. We all have to work, you know, we're under the shackles of capitalism. But like when you compare it to sort of like other things like Islamic culture and whatnot, where it's the idea of going, oh, you have to wear this, you have to do this, you have to observe this. Like we're not chained by that. But the fact is, it's like it's the closest to that. Like if you know, like we saw in during the pandemic, the idea of going, hey, you need to wear a mask to go somewhere. And the amount of people who freaked out at the concept of this, and you're just going, just put the fucking mask on. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to lessen who you are as a person. Just put the fucking mask on for the sake of it, even if you don't believe in what it's doing. And people couldn't. And that's the closest parallel we have to the idea of going, that's why the Klingons can't do this thing if they see it as dishonorable.
Yeah.
And you don't need to understand it. You just need to be like, this dickhead's not wearing a mask. Okay. You know, like
You know, it's
that's
the
a bit of a
fact
nasty
that
way of putting it, but
no,
in
but
that
you
regard
you're
of going,
absolutely you are
it doesn't-
absolutely right,
it's
because
not going to hurt you. The mask won't bite you. The mask won't make you any less ill or more ill, you know?
you are absolutely right, because it's like, hey, this thing benefits you and others, so can you do it? No, because I will feel the slightest bit restricted, or I will feel like this is too much of a government overreach to tell me that I must wear this. This is exactly like.
Imagine trying to explain like the idea of a hijab to, or like a burqa to like people, and just be like, oh, this is a great idea, because well, you know, in terms of like the women that are in favor of it, you know, like there's Muslim women that are in
Yes.
favor of these things, not because their society oppresses them with it, but they're like, no, I don't mind wearing it. This is fine. It makes me kind of anonymous. It makes me not need to worry about this, that, or the other kind of thing. And there's always different stories to every culture, and always different stories to every person within that culture, whether what, you know, their culture demands of them restricts them, like we see with Jaden, or whether what happens in their culture sort of like liberates them and goes, cool, at least I don't need to worry about that, or at least I've got this set of rules to live by. And then
Yes.
everything crashes down if I don't have that. And that's what the Klingon Empire's always been. If you take away honor and you just go, hey, you can just do whatever you want, then they just get left with, well, who are we now? What is our culture? What is our species?
It is fascinating, because what we do see is I would say in the last 26 years of Star Trek, from Enterprise, was, because Enterprise was set in the 22nd century, where we saw the last dying embers of a Klingon race that wasn't wholly consumed by the warrior ethos. I hate saying warrior ethos because it makes me feel like Andrew Tate. But
You've got a chin and I've had a proper job, so yeah, it can't be compared.
But why did I have a brain fart when you said you made me 404 my own brain there? But we see in Enterprise the last dying embers of a Klingon race that is not all consumed by the warrior ethos. There are scholars, there are scientists, there are healers, the race is diverse. And what we see in Enterprise is, the last remnants of people going, we are not all warriors, we are not all we all don't share this belief. Some of us are scientists, some of us like this. And to see the evolution through Enterprise, through the original series, through the Next Generation in the 24th century, but then to see Klingons in the 32nd century, where Kronos is more or less uninhabitable. They are refugees. They're an extinct species, and they've had to change the way that they deal with life. But out of everything, the warrior ethos still clings, but they are starting, my question is, are they starting to realize with so few of them, will they start to realize with so few of them left, maybe the warrior ethos, maybe honor is not everything, shall we say?
It's a difficult one because the issue is that you don't want to change other cultures. You don't want to be like, hey, stop being like you are, like be more like this. Because it's
But my
there's
question is,
definite
do you
argument.
think it will change? Do you think with what has happened to the
What we
Klingon?
have in this episode, we get the wonderful speech, and I can't believe I'm saying this, considering all I've done is hate on the character. But Laura Thok's, you keep saying Laura Thok, and I'm like, that sounds like she's an accountant.
It's
Hey,
my
Laura Thok.
it's my fabulously sexy smoggy accent. Hang on a minute.
But yeah,
Lura.
I think is it L
Lura.
L-U-H-R
Lura.
Okay, but
Lura.
Laura. But with that, it's like, obviously I've hated her on the previous episode because all she seems to be doing is shouting, and you're like, oh, why have you done this? But in this one, we get her, and I've made a note. In the early scenes, she is silent. She is in 3 scenes where she's being spoken to, but she's silent. And I made a note about how these are her best scenes so
They're
far,
fantastic,
which is kind
though.
of insulting that
But
she's
it
just
isn't.
there observing and reacting,
But it
not
isn't.
saying anything.
But it
But
isn't,
then,
because what we find with Star Trek is the characters that just say nothing
yeah,
can say the most. And,
yeah,
these are
exactly.
scenes where we are realizing, possibly the extinction of the Klingon species. And for her to say nothing for most of the episode speaks more than words will ever do.
But that's it, and it's the fact of, but like I complained about, I made a joke about that, but then at the end of the episode, we get a wonderful scene, like the best scene in the episode, I'm willing to say, between Laura Thok and Jaden, where she kind of goes, "Hey, I really should have talked to you sooner about this because I'm the only other like Klingon on like in the academy where she's like half Klingon, but she knows of his culture enough to actually be able to advise him. Unlike everyone else being like, "Hey, in my culture we don't deal with this shit," or "Why don't you just give up on the honor thing?" Uh, you know, but she understands the situation that he's in, and it's kind of good that it's a bit of development on her side because we see her silent in the other scenes where all of this stuff is happening and she's just pretty much like, well, Klingons be Klingoning. But then in the later scene she goes, no, actually I should have come to you sooner and tried to be an elder figure to you and tried to sort of advise you in getting through the academy. And I think it's telling of her where she's going, hey, I need to be distant from everyone in order to command authority with them, rather than Aki, who's very much kind of, hey, I need to be buddies with everyone, and that way they'll respect my opinion more. Whereas Lura's very much kind of like, no, like I'm going to be separate from everyone, otherwise they won't fear me.
Yeah.
And so it's a learning thing on her side. But what she points out is the idea of, yeah, you can adapt cultures without losing the culture. Yes, if you have to be proper, what's it, Bible bashing Christian, like, oh no, it has to be exactly how it's written, otherwise it's not true at all. then yeah, you're setting up boundaries, you're gonna mess yourself up. But the fact is that there's interpretation in everything. So he's been going through his whole life being like, I'm not a warrior because I can't kill an animal on a hunt. But then she's going, yes, but you're at university, you're saving people's lives with medicine, you're winning, like, you're winning debate battles, you're sort of like learning to get on with other cultures and stuff. Isn't that a different kind of warrior? And there are going to be people, there's going to be neckbeards in comments or online that are going to argue with that. But it's the same as everyday life. We get people going, "Hey, I'm done enough in my life," or I haven't achieved anything in my life," or "I'm not worth anything." But the reality is, it's like going, "You're still surviving your battle, and your battle is very different to everyone around you's battle." Like, like the idea of going, "Oh, look, all these rich people who never needed to worry about sort of um like poverty or like sort of keeping the gas on or keeping sort of like getting rent paid and stuff, but they'll have their own battles. They'll be warriors in totally different situations that we are not part of." And and the same on the flip side. And that's what it's about. Life is about realizing that we by being here, by being in the fight, whatever your fight is, you are a warrior. And people will say that's wishy-washy. People will say that's not what Klingons are. It is literal war. It's literal bloodshed and stabbing people and, space battles and stuff. But this is again Star Trek telling us about our own world through the lens of science fiction, where it's kind of going, hey, everyone, you can apply this, whether it's racism, whether it's sexuality, whether it's sort of like I don't know, like what it is to be human kind of thing. Star Trek teaches us about our world through story,
But
and that's what this does.
it also teaches us about ourselves, because what people
Hmm.
need to realize is, yes, it teaches us about the world, but you can take what it is teaching you and apply it to your own life. So,
Hmm.
for those that know me, I've gone back into work. I'm doing the self-employed thing, but I've also gone back into work, and I have had to start from the ground floor again. So I've literally had to start from the bottom, because
That's where the reception usually
that
is in buildings, though.
it
So
well it is, yes, but
yeah.
I've literally had to start from there, and it is a dramatic life change. It is a dramatic thing, but you know everyone's got a journey that they are on, and everyone is a warrior in their own battle. And my battle is, I had 15 years of doing the same job. Was the money good? Yes, the money was good. Was I happy? No. Was I fulfilled? No. And to you know to take the risk, what I did, of what I did a few months ago, and turn a situation that could have been incredibly detrimental into something like worth fighting for. I'm proud of what I've done. Um, it might not have turned out exactly how it has yet, but I am proud of the fight that I am on, and I'm going to continue fighting, doing it. It's tiring, it's exhausting, but this episode makes you realize that everyone has got their own battles and everyone has got their own, struggles, and it sort of does what Star Trek does best for me, and it reassures you that what you are doing is right for you and you are on the right path. You need to believe in yourself. You need to, be confident in the fact that the world will get better. The world will fix itself. Your world will get better. Your situation will fix itself. And at the end of the day, that
And
is what
having
Star Trek
faith
is as
in
a whole.
yourself, having faith in yourself that you will survive it, having
Yeah,
faith in yourself that when bad things come, you will be able to deal with it. Like that's the main thing.
there is not enough Romulan ale and Klingon blood wine in the universe to stomach Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek. Everyone is
I
entitled
disagree. Like
to.
I
Yeah,
do think though, like I think the less Alex Kurtzman is directly involved, the better Star Trek is. Because obviously
and that is a proven fact. That is a
Discovery
proven
is
fact.
awful. I hated all of the J.J. Abrams stuff. Strange New Worlds was amazing for season 1 and 2. Season 3, like we say, took a bit of a dip. It went a bit weird and stuff. But like hasn't Kurtzman overseen like Prodigy and Lower Decks and such? Like, or
Um,
at least things have been approved by him, whether someone else
yeah,
was taking the reins. But
the
it's the
biggest
fact
step
of
back he
like to
did
slag off
was
all of Kurtzman's Star Trek means that you are missing out on some really, really enjoyable stuff.
the
But there are problems. But hey, to be fair,
Star
we have
Trek has
fucking
always Star Trek's always had its
problems
problems.
in TNG.
Yeah, Star Trek has always had its problem episodes. It's always had its problem seasons. You can't excuse that. Everyone's opinion is subjective. All I'm saying is, if you do have an opinion, please leave it down in a comment below, because we are always open to discussions after this. So please keep on doing it. We've had loads of comments in recent episodes.
Well, I think that's the thing, but it's like I'd say give it a go. Like it's the sort of thing of, obviously we're looking at stuff being like, like even with how we're talking about this episode, like not Discover, fucking hell, like Starfleet Academy, it's still about a 6 or a 7 out of 10 for me kind of thing. But I have to be like that, because obviously we look at DS9 and stuff and be like, well, if this is going to be an 8, then where does that put that? It's like,
What you have to realize is that there was a
still
lot of
enjoyable. It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not, it's like Discovery. Yes, there are bits of that where I'm just like going, why was this made? Like, what the hell is going on? But like, and Section 31, like, I think wasn't I talking to you the other day, and Section 31, I was like, even if I gave it 1 out of 10, I'd need to justify that one, and I don't know what it would be,
Yeah. 6 or 7 for this trash. Everyone is entitled to their
I'd
opinion.
give it a go. Like, have you watched the episode, Sleazy? Like, it's the fact of, like, I'd probably give this episode about an 8. Like, it's not quite up there. It's not quite up there with Ad Astra per Aspera that we had in Strange New World season 2. And it's not there with, like, classics like, Far Beyond the Stars, The Drumhead, which this episode references, that I thought was a nice little reference. And I like the idea, actually. This is totally separate point. I think we've discussed the whole Klingon culture point a bit, like,
Yes,
fully.
yeah.
But going back and referencing Admiral Sati from The
Oh,
Drumhead
I
of TNG.
thought of you straight away.
Oh no, it's my favorite. I think it is my favorite episode.
It
I
is.
think it genuinely is. But it's the fact of referencing it, and she is forgotten. The idea of that her, like, his daughter, it references him who made the quote, and there's nothing mentioned about his daughter, who disgraced herself by not understanding the words of her father, which we can probably tie into Klingon culture a little bit, and that kind of idea of learning from your elders. But and I liked it. I liked the fact of, even 1,000 years into the future, this still exists. Like, we're still spreading the words and the wisdom.
As soon as the Doctor made that quote, I was like, he's gonna lose it. And I wanted to text you. I wanted to text you so quickly, and I was like, no, because I don't know when he's gonna watch it, and I didn't want to, like, build it up for you or anything like that. So I was just waiting for you. But I was like, oh, it's Sati. It's the drumhead.
I did like a lot of the reference. I did like the Doctor being in this episode so much, because I like how they've got the Doctor right.
He was absent from the last episode as well.
He's only been in, like, he's in episode 1. I think
1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 1, 2, and 4.
Like,
yeah.
A scene in episode 2, but so did Jet. Yeah. Anyway,
But Reno, yeah.
I like the Doctor being in it and stuff, and I like it how when Jaden's struggling, they're like, "Oh, do you need to see the counselor? Like, the Doctor could see you." And can you imagine your counselor being the Doctor? Like, with his bedside manner, can you imagine having, like,
in 800 years he has not changed. That's the thing. He's got an aging program, but in 800 years he's still the Doctor. And I
just like, in an entire academy, and even though it's an oversight maybe of, there would be other staff, or there would at least be other, like, photonics who are properly trained for being a counselor. The idea of having a problem and going to see the Doctor would make it so much worse.
I would just walk into the sea at the end of that.
That's it.
He would like, have you considered doing a flip off the ship? That's the type of thing that the Doctor would do. But I mean, thinking of the Doctor, like, as is the worst show I've ever seen ever.
Hey,
fantastic. You're entitled to your opinion.
There are far worse. There are far
Yeah.
worse shows out there.
There are far worse shows out there, but I want to know, like, I wonder if we're going to get a backstory for the Doctor. I know there's a lot of hype around episode 5. I know a lot of people have said this.
I don't think so. I think it's the idea of like what we're getting, and I'm really happy about this because obviously we were very worried in episode 1 that it was going to be Discovery all over again, where it's like, hey, there's this character like Caleb.
Yeah.
I forgot. I get confused by Caleb and Jaden for some reason in my head. They're the same thing. But where with Caleb, where it's just going, oh look, he's the main focus, and everything's going to be about him. And then in episode 2, it was another episode about him, and you were like, I hope
It's
they're not
gonna
doing main
get
character
there.
syndrome. It's meant to be ensemble cast. That's what Trek is.
Yeah.
And it's great that like episode 3, it was about Genesis and Raimi. Episode 4 has been about Jaden. So I'm quite pleased, but I don't think they're going to have episodes fleshing out the returning cast that much. I don't think we're going to get an episode about Jet. I
really want to know more.
Maybe season 2, but the fact is, we've still look at the characters we've still got to go through. We still need a dedicated Genesis episode. We still need a dedicated Sam episode. We need a Laura Thok episode. And I never thought I'd be saying that because I fucking hated her at the beginning of this like series because all she did is shout at people. But but like, yeah, I'm interested like seeing, and the fact that they've kind of rationalized the whole like, oh, she's half Jem'Hadar and she's half Klingon and stuff. Although it would really help if they just went, oh yeah, the Dominion decided to make the Jem'Hadar able to breed, and like what.
Just
But that does
explain it,
suggest-
guys. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, like,
Give
that's
them
all it needs.
winkies. Give them
but-
all winkies.
Give us load. I just love the idea that they just, after the Dominion War, at some point in like the 100 years, Odo sits down with someone and they're like, okay, you're going to have to give him cocks. And Odo's like, okay.
Can you imagine the new like the new series of Jem'Hadar where they're just like, we're the Jem'Hadar and we fuck. And it's just
Oh, we fuck hard.
oh, we fuck. Oh, dictory
It'd be
is
proper,
life.
bro.
And yeah, oh my god,
Dicking
can
is
you
life. There we go.
Dicking
Hashtag dicking is life.
Dicking is life. We're
No,
gonna
that's
need
it.
vodka
That's
to
how they
sell
calm
right,
them.
way young.
They're fucking poor Wayoon 55 or something being like, what? I have to stick what on them?
Do you? Oh, imagine this.
Wait a minute.
Imagine
this
this.
isn't Catracel White.
Wait. The Vortas still exist.
Yeah.
Weyung 6,285 in season 2 of Starfleet Academy. Bring back Jeffrey Combs! Can you imagine? Can
know
you
what,
imagine? And they don't
I
have to.
think
They don't have to
this
do
is-
anything because he's the same character.
Well, this is the thing though with like Starfleet Academy where they're doing something new, and there's a lot of sort of like okay, we'll kind of what's it called where you sort of you believe in something because you know that it's trying to do something else, like it's
You're asking
putting faith.
me?
Well, I'm putting faith in it of going, okay, cool, you changed this, and that annoys me as a fan, but you're doing it for the following reasons, so as long as it's justified, unlike Silent Hill 2, the movie. Bullshit. I can't even give that. No, I can give that 1 out of 10. It's genuinely that bad. But unlike that, it's the idea of going, okay, cool. So you've changed this, or you've changed this kind of thing round, but at least you're justifying it in terms of the wider lore, whether I'm happy with that or not. And I think that helps for stuff. But then there's that level of just for fan service, what can you pull off? And I kind of like the idea of them having Weyun 6000, even though it is the dumbest idea in the entire world, purely as fan service, or at least hinting that somehow Weyun is still around in some fashion.
I love it.
Even though, I hate it. I hate it in terms of lore. But
No. And he's got all the memories of the 6,000 Vorta Weyungs prior to it. That would be so much fun. That would be so funny. That would be
That's the
so
interesting thing,
funny.
though. It's so strange that we don't have any Vorta in this. Like out of all of
Not
the races
yet,
that you would
anyway.
expect, but that's the thing. It makes you think, and I think this thing with the people in the chat who aren't like massive fans of Starfleet Academy, it's more the idea of like, what would you want to see in it? Like I'm confused at the idea of all these different races and species that they've put into it. What's happened? Like, do we think we're going to get an answer
But
to?
what
Because
we
I
are
didn't expect to
seeing,
get as much background on Laura Thok, like the Jem'Hadar Klingon hybrid. But I kind of like the idea of going, yeah, the Vorta are gone. Like the Jem'Hadar continued on, but the
yeah.
Vorta actually went, we have no need for you anymore. They died off or
But
something.
what we are seeing, and this is what we have touted a lot in the last few years, is we are seeing no new races majorly, but we are seeing a lot of reoccurring races coming back. We are seeing the
Some for the
Jem'Hadar.
better, and
Some
some
for
are
the
like
better,
going,
some-
why is that? Is it Shakan? What are they called?
Which one?
The black and white ones.
Oh, the Sharons.
Charons, sorry.
The Karons, Sharons.
Karons.
Yeah, Karens.
Sharons.
The Karens. Sharons and Karens.
That's what happened.
That's the
that whole
Sharons.
episode.
That's the Karens.
Yeah, we're gonna
It's
redo
Sharon
that
versus-
original
oh my
series
God.
episode.
Sharons
The
versus
Sharons
Karens.
and the Karen.
Bob cuts versus beehives on a planet
Yeah.
just wrestling with each. Oh
There's
my
no
God.
way any of them survived. We've just made it even less likely.
It's just a planet full of nail salons. But we
But yeah, but
she's the
but it's like
leader, she's
stuff-
got a B tech.
okay, stuff like that where you're just going, I'm gonna need an explanation. I'll be much
Yeah,
happier.
so stuff
if
like
there's
that.
an
It's like,
explanation.
yeah, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, why? But then we're getting returns of Jem'Hadar. We're getting obviously Klingons, but then we're seeing stuff like
Who was the weird guy in the last episode? In the last episode, there was just a yellow guy who had like a sort of full, like standy up haircut, and it was like he looked like. Do you remember? Are you old enough to remember the 7-Up characters, where there was like sort of the?
I'm 38, you troglodyte. I'm not that younger.
You're like 12, but it's a. But you know the 7-Up character with the big hair.
If I'm 12, I'm going to have to call the police. But
I'm getting the word.
I would like to
12.
report my hand. We
I were
no, Martha. But we
naughty hand.
I know I can't remember the. Oh, is it the mascot you're on about? No, you're not on the because you got the Mugatus and the. Oh,
Yeah.
hang on. Mike put the name in the because Mike. Bless Mike. He has not slept. He has been doing Starfleet Academy designs and banners and full wallpapers and stuff. So he had the Laplings,
hell.
the Lapling mascot, and then the Mugatus. So he's been doing that. I'm trying to think of which one you're on
They're
about.
really hot right now.
The Laplings, yes.
There we go, Lapwing. There we go.
But there are a lot of races
Thank you,
where you're
Joel.
like, okay, but these. It's well and truly established that there is only one of these, or these died out and stuff like that, and they're not explaining it. And again with Lura Thok, where where it's like, hey, they didn't have winkies. Like, what did they do? No, but did they do cloning? What did they do?
Yeah.
Did they clone and then have a surrogate? How did it happen? And what we are seeing is not like very little new races. Like we've got Darren Ramey, who is a race that we've never heard before or anything like that. But they're not making a song and dance, and they're sort of like, hey, here's an episode about a key alien race from the next generation. Beta
this
Z,
is-
here is this about the Klingons and stuff. And it's like, yes,
this is
because
what we want from Trek. If you're going to jump massively into the future, justify it. Tell us where all of our old favourites are. And yes, we're not happy with the answers. We're not happy that Beta Z's changed dramatically. We're not happy that the Klingon Empire has been decimated. We know that the Romulan Empire's fucked from Picard and stuff. But it's this idea of like take that time and then on the outskirts flesh out the new races like Raimi's race. I can never remember what
Yes.
they're called, fish people. But it's and I find myself now after we've had like the 2 episodes that are focused on other characters in this and the kind of nice return to Trek kind of style episodes like we get with this one and episode 2. It's I have faith that they will answer it. Like we had with Strange New Worlds, where we were like, I have faith that this show is going to go, I have questions. Oh, but you are going to answer them eventually, kind of thing. And I like that. Well, maybe not, well, maybe not always, but I
We
have
said that all the
faith
way through
there.
season 3. We're like, you got to answer this, right? Where are you going?
Season 3 is an exception. Season 3
They're
falls
going to
off
answer
the
this.
rails
There's the
slightly.
credits.
Yeah, like, oh, never mind.
Oh, okay.
But I think
40 minutes?
it's the fact of like in season 2 they can have a Laura Thok episode where it
Yeah.
basically goes into the whole like they could even like have what happened to Odo. They could give conclusions in that kind of way because obviously Odo is the leader of the Dominion where we last saw it.
My biggest problem with Starfleet
I have
Academy.
faith in the heart. Shut up, Sarah.
I've got faith.
No, you've set
No.
it off.
I've got. What was it?
Yeah.
We had a lewd one.
Hold on. I'm gonna open up I'm just gonna take a break here to point out that at the quiz on Saturday, I got given this by the wonderful Stephen, who's a regular attendee. And this is from one of those Japanese sweet boxes that you can import, where it's like random sweets from Japan and stuff. And it is banana chocolate flavored Fanta that I'm pretty sure we have laws preventing this being sold in this country.
Not even
But,
a German geneticist would come up with this.
No, this is twins were not involved in the making of this nightmare. But it's but when he gave it to me, it's like there's this like amount missing at the top, and I was like, "Did you try this?" And be like, "Fuck that! I'm giving it to someone else." But he swears that it is sealed. But oh god, it's gonna
I've
be
got
awful.
faith in my ass. But
It's even got a Chinese nutrient reference value, like rather than ours. Right, it's just
warning, they contain
using the
potassium.
Chinese one. Oh,
It
God,
looks rank. Here we go. This is going to be a live tasting. Oh, how does it smell? Oh, whoa, he's straight in.
It's not as bad as Guinness, but it's weird. What does it taste? It tastes like banana. I think it just all I can taste is banana. I'm not. Oh, and then aftertaste of chocolate. It's people made this. People sat down and went, "Today I've chosen violence." That's
Getting back to the episode. Getting back to the episode, though. I
speaking
want
of
to.
choosing violence.
I want to address the elephant in the room that has caused a lot of controversy online. Jaden crying.
Oh yeah,
Now,
yeah.
a lot of people have gone, but the Klingons, they do not have their tear ducts. And I refer to the magnificent 65-foot, 0.8-inch shed from Nice, France. That is David, who
also
pointed
can't
out...
cry.
Who also can't cry. He cries through the sweaty biceps that he has.
Let me just take a moment with that.
I'm
I need to
straight.
distract myself.
I'm straight, but I would give him the chocolate banana.
I'd climb in that shed.
I
found a trowel.
I will store my strimmer in there until the end of spring.
David, can we store Goodwill Strimmer inside you? That's practically marriage in Canada, Christ.
Oh my god. Just a slight tangent before I address the elephant in the room. This week's Fallout, right, was the theme was Canada being the 51st state, because in Fallout law, Canada was annexed by the United States, right? So at the border it goes, welcome to the 51st state. And I would like to applaud the schedulers at Amazon Prime who thought this period of time, of all the time, was the most apt to put this episode of Fallout. To have hanging Mounties from the Canadian border. And I'm thinking, read the fucking room, dude. Anyway,
it's that thing. It's like with Fallout, it's kind of like at least they're staying kind of true to the vibe of it, where
with
it's basically
Fallout,
political satire.
of
and,
all the timelines that we are experiencing, I did not think the Fallout one would be the one we go through. But I just want the power armor. So the elephant in the room is Jaden cries in the episode, and the famous thing is Klingons don't have tear ducts. Thank you to the magnificent shed that is David, who pointed out, yes, but in Birthright Part 1 and 2, the quote is, Kahless filled the ocean with his tears. So there is no suggestion that although the Klingons do not have tear ducts, that they cannot cry in some manner.
Yeah, and I don't understand it. Like, I will admit, I don't agree with it. I don't like it in this episode because it's the idea of
It's
like
not
'cause
needed.
yeah. What we've seen with Caleb, no, not Caleb, Jaden. What we've seen with Jaden is that he is a Klingon. You know, like while he might not view himself as a Klingon, or he doesn't class himself as a full Klingon warrior, he's in that middle ground where he respects the traditions of his elders as
Yeah.
much as he can, but then he hits points with it. And it's things that all of us have where we kind of go, hey, we want to live up to our parents' expectations, but actually they wanted me to go into law and I didn't want to do it. And that's kind of like the same kind of failing where it's, and Caleb's kind of in that of going this very strict culture where he's going, I'll honor this, I'll know the language, I will, I will do the songs, I will do the rituals, but I won't kill. So anything that involves that, I won't do. So I felt that him crying, I think would have been something that he would have had drilled out of him years ago. Like, because when we say Klingons can't cry, it's yes, they don't have tear ducts, but I think it's more of a kind of metaphor of going, they don't, because they don't feel like that. You know, they don't have those like level of feelings. So it's more of a kind of not that they physically can't, but that they won't because they're warriors.
I love the
But
fact that Joel has
I
said
do dislike it though. It seems like a bit of a sort of
it was not needed. It was not needed in this episode,
Yeah.
and the emotion was easily conveyed without tears. And Joel has commented, shouldn't they have twice as many tear ducts? Yes, they have
imagine
two
just
penises.
blood.
They have two penises, therefore they have two of everything.
Wait, where did it say Kalis cried from?
So I want to address.
That
Let's
was
move
Phil and
on.
Ocean.
Let's move on to. Ooh, he was a big boy as well. Let's
This
move
isn't
on.
Ketracel White.
Get your hands off my peni! The debates, because that's the overarching story is the whole debate, and the fact that Jaden has anxiety about talking in public as well, and he's able to find his voice towards the end of the episode. I like the argument that he has with Caleb, and the fact that Caleb is literally used as a what is it, a soundboard to amplify Jaden's story. And we see that Caleb is good at debating, or as he says, he is a mass debater.
Yeah.
But when it
I
comes
do
to
like that he gets a punch in the arm. Like that is, with
Yeah.
all this stuff we've had in the series where it's like, oh, they're trying to write teen dialogue and it's a bit cringy. And yet with that, I'm like, no, that tracks,
But they use the topic of the Klingon refugees and wanting to find this home and stuff like that. Well, just the Klingon refugees as the debate topic, and we find that Jaden finds his voice. It descends into an argument because he allows his personal emotions to get into the way with it. But then when he comes back after being sent off for the heated argument, and he comes back and he goes, actually no, like this is my voice. Like I have found my voice. I have found this is the voice of my people. And to debate something about about a race where you're not even allowing the person from that race to express their emotions, their feelings about that subject, when it's about them, when you think
And that's what I think is amazing about this episode. Like I think that is what, people are saying, oh, the Starfleet Academy is rubbish and stuff like that, but give it a go in terms of like the Star Trek principles that it's got in it and the discussion
Yes.
points that it has.
Yes.
Because obviously this might mess up our YouTube thing, but it's the idea of like there are countries in the world at the moment that are in need of rebuilding.
Yes.
And we're having hilarious horrible situations where going, why are they not involved in the rebuilding of their place? Why is it other people deciding? Why is it even the aggressors that are getting to decide how to rebuild this place? And that's kind of what we're doing with the Klingons, where we're saying, hey, the Klingon Empire is decimated, and then other races are telling them how to rebuild or how they should do it and whatnot. And it's also quite good because Caleb, we've seen in the previous episodes, were like he is meant to be like a bit of an anti-hero. He's a bit of a dickhead kind of thing. He's finding his way. But they put him in a position of being an antagonist in this because he's like me. I can very much relate to this, where he is white knighting the Klingons, where he's trying to be like, hey, I'm going to argue in favor of the Klingons because we're going to do what's best for the Klingons because I'm such a great guy that I want what's best for them and we want to help them. And he's totally missing the point. He's
Yes.
kind of wanting to help, but without understanding, and he's speaking for them. Like the fact that the irony of that, where it's the idea of someone who isn't Klingon arguing in favor of Klingons, and someone who is Klingon arguing, no, that's not the way to do it. And we get that all the time nowadays. It's like, it's how I can't talk about. Now, I'm fully aware that I can't talk about trans matters and I can't talk about like black matters and like women matters and stuff because I am not that. And it's I can say so much, but when you compare to it, we always have to defer to someone who's in that situation and kind of
Yes.
constantly go, hey, how do you feel about that? And we get this, it's not really irony, but the idea of, like Caleb kind of talking Jaden down about what's best for his race, which is a wonderful parallel to the world right now and certain countries. But it's, and yeah, and I like that, but it's the fact of like, yeah, like we even get it with the stew because we get it where Caleb's like, "Hey, I made you warrior stew because I'm trying to help you. Like I'm doing a nice thing for my Klingon friend. Look how multicultural I am." And Jaden's like, "Yeah, this is kind of insulting because I can't actually eat this because I don't deserve it because I'm not a warrior yet." And Caleb's like, "Ah, just eat it." And you're like, "That is more insulting than not knowing anything about their race." And that's something that I think we all do. Like I very much assume
We're
a
all
lot of stuff
guilty
and
of
be
it.
like, ah, come
Yeah.
on. Yeah. And I like that. I like the idea that we still have that happening in the Starfleet future, especially now in this universe. But yeah, anyway,
Yeah.
I've talked a lot.
We have talked a lot, and it's 1 hour and 22 minutes into this review, and we are trying to trim these down, everybody.
I'm preventing us from doing this.
But I mean, Luthok's scene was absolutely amazing. I love
She's
the
winning
scene.
around. I know I was exactly the same with Umbenga in Strange New
Oh,
World.
we love
The
Umbenga.
first couple of episodes, I was like, oh, I'm not really feeling him. Like, not as badly as this, but I was like, oh, I'm not really feeling him kind of thing. And then later on, I'm like, yes, he's amazing. I love him. I want more of him in there. And I'm hoping that Luthok's going to do the same turnaround as well because I hated her for the first three.
The whole battle scene, like I say, was very cheesy. I love the fact there's a USS Riker. So that was a nice little nod on there. But the whole battle scene was a little bit cheesy, and it's like I really had issues with it. I'm not gonna lie, because it just felt like you were throwing a dog a bone, and even the fact that the Klingons when they were under attack, they were like, oh, they're using your low yield. It's 95. But, our shields are down to 95%. It barely scratched us and stuff. And it's like...
It's... What it does, though, is it's the idea of it's give and take. That's what we saw in the Betazoid episode. It's the idea of understanding the other person enough to know what concession they can make so that you can make a concession. So the idea of the Klingons being like, yes, we are desperate, and no, we don't actually want to die like this, and we would like that world, but we are restricted by our code to do it. So them going, okay, we'll play this game as a kind of sign of, oh, we see what you're doing. And it is tacky. It's not the Klingons that we're used to, but we haven't seen the Klingons in desperation before. Like, it's always been between series that is when the Klingons have been suffering,
Yeah. And I think it could have been,
it could have been better. It could have been
better. It could have been the Klingons being the actual main aggressor. They do a little bit of damage, and then Starfleet's like, okay, we'll white flag this now, and then we'll have a thing. But the fact that the Klingons are sort of playing along with it, it sort of it cheapens it for me, because it's the fact that I think it's Obek comes in and he goes, "You fought a valiant battle," and it's like, you didn't.
I wonder though, how do we feel about this? Do we feel like this is what people were accusing Starfleet Academy of making ruining these races and ruining these characters by being like, hey, they're not like
it feels like this, yeah. And after an episode, after a build up on an episode of Klingon lore and world building, and seeing such heartache for Jaden and his brother and his father and stuff like that, to see everything just reduced to pew pew pew, I scratched you so I won. And it's like, no, give them something to fucking run for, give them an actual fight, and then capitulate, surrender, because you're wholly outmatched, you're wholly outnumbered, and then surrender and say, we surrender the planet to you. Give it some, make them work for it, because I think, even if they are capitulating, there's still that honor there where it's like, it wasn't really honorable because it wasn't a fair fight. And that's how it made it look, that it wasn't really a fair fight. There were low yield weapons.
But isn't that the lesson though? Isn't the lesson of, yes, you can tick the box that you're meant to be ticking, but for the sake of the other person, you're willing to sort of like compromise. Like that's, it's the idea of going, yes, it's not correct, but it's the idea of going, actually, we do need
I just don't think, I don't know, because the Klingons are so steadfast and stubborn.
I don't think it established how desperate the Klingons
were.
Like, if the Klingons were actually happy being nomads, and because we don't see it from their side, we get to see Jaden's family, which is like a hint towards what life was like for them, but the only one we see is don't know his rank, but basically the leader bloke. If it had had a couple of scenes basically going, oh, they're not happy, like to the point where you could be like, well, maybe we could just capitulate here and we can tell everyone that we won a battle and that's the important bit. Like if it had had that kind of discussion in it, then I think it would have been better. But it is a bit too neat. Like I like it, I like what it's doing, but it isn't the Klingons we used to.
I would say it's one of my bugbears of this episode, where it just felt it's not the Klingons that we are used to, and the Klingons of the 24th century would give them a fair fucking fight, and it would mean that the Enterprise, even if it was the Enterprise, they were like, within the first few shots, they're like, we surrender, and it's like they would capitulate, give the Klingons something to properly shoot at. But it was like an epic battle scene, but it was cheapened by the fact that just before it all really started kicking off, they're like, oh, it barely scratches us, these are all low yield, and then it's like a few seconds of special effects of pew pew bang bang bang, and it's like, why am I seeing this when there is actually no element of danger, there is no threat?
I think because they did, and that's the thing, that's it missing the tone, because it's them going, I think if they'd actually had a proper battle, which both of them did intend to not fully destroy ships or whatever, but if they'd had it where they'd gone, okay, everyone put all fucking power into shields and just do a defensive type thing, but be hitting them with full power, but not anything that'll actually destroy them.
That's what I'm.
If it had that nod of going, if it doesn't look real, they're not going to believe us. That would have really helped.
Thank you, and that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, we see this in certain episodes of the Next Generation where they have to put on a show. Ironically, the Next Generation episode where it's the Klingon crew that have been missing, like the from the 23rd century, and like they, Picard's like, well, this is we essentially they had to put Worf in command to make them believe that the Federation and the Klingon Empire were no longer at war, and they had to make it look believable that it's like, hey, yeah, we're not at war, and to prove it, there is a Klingon in charge of a Starfleet vessel, and they had to make it look believable. The tone had to be there, the language had to be there, and Worf's like, welcome to welcome to the 24th century and stuff. Yes, it was a lie, but it had to be believable. It had to be convincing enough for them to do that. And for this, that scene just cheapens the whole episode, because both sides know that this is just a show. And it just
if they
takes
had
it
where the Klingons didn't know that it was a show, I think it would have been better.
Yes, and the Federation
The
could have
if they're hitting with low yield weapons, then it suggests that the Klingon leader would have had to message everyone saying, "Hey, don't really make an effort."
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If I would have been fine with if the leader had been in on it, like
Yes.
if he'd gone, "Hey, cool, I'm not going to tell my people this, but." That you're right. That
Like the
would have been far
Federation,
better.
the Starfleet ships could have fired with low yield weapons, so they were getting punched in the face, but at least they were putting on the show where they're firing everything, but everything's at like 5% power, 10% power. So it's only doing superficial damage to them.
Yeah.
And then
maybe even sacrificed a ship, like literally
Yeah.
teleported the entire crew off a ship kind of thing, and then that allowed it to blow up
Yeah,
or
and
something.
then
like sacrificed
go-
a runabout or something.
Yeah, and then say, we are outgunned in this battle. We surrender. We are outgunned. You are no match for us. We surrender this planet in the name of the Klingon Empire, and it just would have been more convincing. But that is my only drawback of this episode. That is it. On the whole, I think it was an absolutely fantastic episode yet again. Very much it's very much dialogue heavy for the most of it. Yes, we get the low minor actors here, but it's dialogue heavy. Great character development for a few characters there. We're really impressed with Lyra Thok in this episode. I really do. Maybe in season 2 we get a backstory for her, but I'm excited to see where they go next with this season of Starfleet Academy. What notes do you have?
Ooh, there's a couple of things that there are bits that like I wrote down as a criticism and then it fixed it later. So basically we have the whole thing where, Jaden breaks down in the debate and it turns into a big argument with Caleb, and they both get kicked out. And then it cuts to Jaden in his room, and then obviously Laura Thok comes in and they have the amazing conversation. And then afterwards, he's like, I want you to put me back on that stage at the debate kind of thing. And it's one of those Trek time things where I'm like, it's still fucking on. Like, it literally suggests. So, and one of these things where it's like the debate's still going. We're already like halfway through it, okay? And he has time to go back to his room.
It's Tuesday.
Like,
it's still going on.
Yeah, he has time to go back to his room, get into a sort of angsty, sort of like emo pose in the corner kind of thing, and her to sort of wait a couple of minutes, come in, and then them have this entire conversation, and it's still fucking going in the background. Like, I'm like, no, that seems a bit dumb.
Go away, Mom.
Yeah, it is. It's that kind of thing, and I'm like, maybe if she was like, if it was like he storms off, and then we see her get out her seat, and it's immediate that it's like, hey, she is on his heels, being like, they even have the conversation in the corridor. But yeah,
did you notice a continuity error in that scene?
Where Jaden's standing up.
All of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I
okay,
did.
that's fine.
But
that's fine.
the problem is it came after a flashback, so it is the possibility of while it's showing shots of his father.
Yeah, something was cut on the floor. Yeah.
It hit me as a kind of like,
because she's looking there and then she's looking there, and I'm like, what? Like,
But the thing is, he gets back to the debate, and then rather than debating, so we have Caleb kind of sitting by the side. Jaden just kind of goes, hey, this is what we need to do. This is how we fix this problem and stuff. And I just was sitting there being like, that's a shit debate. It's like that you're not going to win the debate with that kind of thing. So I was like basically going, yeah, that's cool. It's dramatic for the episode, but I hope he doesn't win the debate. I hope it's not one of these, oh my God, he gets the trophy. So it is quite cool that we actually see Caleb later with the
I like
trophy.
that.
So after
Yeah,
all
but
of that, after Jaden does this big speech about how to actually help Klingons and stuff and how to help his people, Caleb still wins because he was technically the best
that's
mass
good
debater.
because it just doesn't play into that trope where it's like, the hero of the week is the one that actually wins, and it's like,
Yeah. Fuck
no.
that. I hate that in shows, It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, oh, the guy who
A
had
lot
the biggest
less,
story wins.
a lot
And it's
less, a lot less robots and dots this week. I
like,
noticed.
yes, very
Thank
happy for that. Fuck
God.
off with all of that nonsense.
Any other notes?
And we haven't talked about. Yeah, there's an interesting thing, okay, that I want to say about the Lurathok scene where I'm saying it now, Lurathok.
Lura.
It's the fact of obviously what happens is Jaden gets taken out to go hunting, and his dad's like, "Here's the bow, go and shoot the eagle." I don't know why they have bald eagles. It's weird. They could have made a new one. Just that's just a weird morphology thing. Why the fuck are there eagles on this random alien planet? But
what got me about that was
when you can Photoshop fucking robots into every bloody scene in episode 1 and 2, can't you just make a new bird to put on this planet?
This was clearly evident. The reason that the color coding choice, so the color. The coloring choice for these scenes was done purely to hide the fact that the images of the eagle were stock footage, and not only stock footage, old stock footage, to hide the standard def quality. Because I'm looking at it and I'm going, that's shot on film.
Yeah.
This is digital. That's shot, and this is me trained to look at this, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's 540p. That's
I just
4K.
love that they couldn't be bothered to just film like
Just
they were like,
how many National Geographics, how many nature shows in the universe that have been shot in 4K and you couldn't find one with an eagle? One!
The problem is I'm annoyed that it was a fucking eagle.
And it's
why?
like, here's a footage from 1983 of an eagle, and then they do the arrow,
dyeing it green or something. And
no,
like, oh,
what
look,
they
it's a
did,
green eagle.
what they did, they changed the tint of the scenes. That's why the flashback scenes have that rusty sepia tint to hide it. And then what made it worse?
Still look like a bloody eagle.
But what made it worse was the digitally placed arrow, where it's just like, poof, and it was just fucking awful. And I know that VFX friend of mine is probably sat there and he probably went into the fetal position and just went, I could have done better in paint.
I do like, though, that, like, literally we've got this where it's like, hey, you've got a terribly animated scene that really could have used some CG. And they're like, we're too busy putting robots into random backgrounds. We've got to animate a robot window cleaner for no reason at all.
This dot's climbing the stairs despite the fact it floats and can just go up.
Yeah, so it's very much the same complaint we've had throughout all of Academy so far, is the idea of where your priorities are at in terms of the visuals. But but anyway, it's an interesting one though, because basically, he's meant to fire the arrow, he refuses to do it, and his dad like yells at him, grabs the bow and arrow, fires the shot, and it misses the bird. And then the dad screams at him and then basically storms off. They have a bit of a pushy thing. But then the dad storms off and him and the mum actually fly off. They just abandon Jaden on this planet. And Jaden walks away from that with like the view of, I failed my father. He was so angry that he couldn't actually land the shot to finish the hunt. And whatnot, which is a great dishonor. And then they abandoned me because they hated me, kind of thing. When Lurathok basically reframes it and goes, well, actually, maybe it was the fact of your dad realized in that moment that he's barking up the wrong tree. You're never going to be a warrior. And he misses the shot so that the hunt ends, in disgrace. And then he leaves you because he realizes you have to walk your own path.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing I see about this is I think she's lying. I don't think I genuinely don't think that's real, but it's more about the idea of like dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression and stuff like that, like dealing with a lot of stuff. It's all about how we frame things in our mind. The idea of, like what was I watching earlier in the week? The Sandman, where it's the idea of where it's got characters like sort of despair, but then it's the whole point of despair helps control hope. You can't have hope without the other one. So it's in that weird way that they influence each other. So you can see a situation of, oh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend broke up with me. And you can see that as a horrible negative, but you can also go like, wow, so I'm free to do all of this other stuff. Like, just because the path branches doesn't mean it's a negative thing, you know?
Yeah.
And so the idea of being able to frame this in the idea of, hey, but even if it was shit that your parents abandoned you, or that your dad was angry with you, it still got you here. It still got
Yeah.
you here doing what you want to do, learning about medicine, and with the opportunity to actually help the Klingons. If he had stayed on the planet and he hadn't been abandoned by his father, he wouldn't have been able to set up the admittedly bullshit battle that we have at the end of the episode. And
Yeah.
it's that whole how you should view life, you know? You shouldn't look at yourself going, I need to be here and I'm not. You need to be like, I'm here and what can I do from here? That's
It's such a difficult thing, as you well know. It's
reframing your mind is really fucking tough.
it's
But when you get
really
good at it,
the amount of times
like
you were
like I,
giving
I had
me.
people being shit to me last year. I had so many people being shit, and I was initially upset where I was like, oh my God, that person's not a friend anymore. But then at the same time, you're kind of going like, oh well, don't need to worry about them anymore. It's that kind of thing. You're
Yeah,
going, oh well, they're obviously if
but the
they're a bit of a shit friend, so
but the
I'm
amount of times
happier that they're not there, you know?
the amount of times that you were giving me motivational speeches just like this to like, no, it's not I'm not making a joke or anything like that.
It's
It's like,
shit and ginger. That's basically all the voice note said. So
oh, it's like 17 minutes of just hate speech. Um,
go back to Ginger Town.
most of it in German, which is slightly arousing. But the amount of motivational speeches where because you are trying to make, you are still drinking that. Stop it. The way
I have nothing else. There is no
Yeah,
more wine left. I've run out of the Canar. The Canar is gone.
oh no, no more Kanawa, no more
Canar is
Kanawa
gone.
Damar.
No more Canar with. I need to refill it, but
I think if we ever get the actor who played Damar, we need to just phrase it as
he's our
Kanar with Damar.
destination.
Is
Casey
he?
Biggs is
Can we
there.
have Kanar with Damar?
Oh, we have to. We have to take it. We have to take the ball. Canar.
Kanar with Damar. We could get him on stage. That could be one of the shows.
Canar with Demar. We'll have to buy actual good wine. It can't
I'm
just be
gonna
like
I'm gonna
Jammy Red
email
Roof
I'm gonna
and
email
Aldi.
Jamie. I'm gonna email Jamie and go, okay, bring over letter decks, but then one of the segments is
This is a
Kanar with
conversation for when
Damar.
we're not an hour and 45 minutes
Anyway,
into a
yeah.
podcast.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it's really hard to train your mind to get out of that. And I believe, I agree with you. Lura is trying to like she's telling a white lie, a tall tale.
I think so. Like,
Yeah.
it's the sort of thing I think it would be like, but I don't know. I think there's something to be said. Like, if you were going to get like the most accepting Klingon situation where the Klingons have given up on a kid, okay? Not like Worf and Alexander because, he never tried. But it's the idea of like if the Klingons were like, I don't know what to do, because it kind of assumes like he's been a problem child for years. We've been trying to get him to do this. He won't eat this. He won't do that. He won't do that. Like the same way that a lot of parents are with like gay kids, where they're just like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and it's like you're not. That's just how he is. The same way that Jaden, it's kind of going, Jaden's just like that, and that's kind of you can't really change it. And the parents making a tactical decision to go, okay, well, we only know this way of life. We can't really change the way we are to accommodate him. So what we'll do is we'll just go, hey, he's talked about this Starfleet Academy, so we'll just abandon him so that he can explore that and go to it kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I like the idea. I think it's like that is probably the most Klingon course of action for the situation, even if I don't think it's what the parents did. It's kind of that kind of Better than sort of like having the dishonor of going, yeah, we've got that shit kid. Yeah, we brought him along. No, he's still not eating meat.
It's better than what Worf did. Let's just say it's
Oh
better
yeah,
than
yeah,
what
yeah.
Worf did. Yeah. Any
Uh,
other notes?
the last thing I want to talk about is the Raimi scene, because obviously loads of people on all of the Trek groups, and especially the gay Trek groups, loads of people talking about like this thing where Raimi has a very sort of kind of homoerotic scene with Jaden, and it's a weird one because I don't know how I feel about it because it's I don't know why they made it so homoerotic, but because Raimi it kind of suggested he's bisexual earlier, but he doesn't need to be. Like, not every fucking character needs to be bisexual. That's
Sorry,
more harm than good.
YouTube disconnected us for a brief moment there.
Did it?
I do apologize. I do. Out of
Is
everything
this
we
because
have
I said
discussed,
homoerotic?
probably. Yeah, we're back. We're back. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
rather than homoerotic, I'll just say bum friendly. Okay. Okay, but
I really apologize about that, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube be YouTubing, but anyway, continue.
that's it. It's probably tracking words we're saying and disagreeing with them and going, "You're not allowed to talk about homosexuality on the internet." Ugh. But no, but that scene where like Raimi basically comes to him and goes, "Hey, I'm gonna give you a help technique to help you speaking," and he basically comes into Jaden's room and goes, "Okay, punch me in the face," like because he doesn't understand his culture. He kind of he doesn't well no, he understands his culture and he goes, "Hey." We're growing men, we've got energy to get out of our systems kind of thing. How about you just punch me in the face? That'll satisfy your Klingon urges and you'll feel better for it and you'll be able to calm down and do the debate. And obviously Jaden's like, no, I'm not going to hit you, I'm a pacifist, I don't want to do any of that. And then it flips where Raimi kind of goes, okay, well, I'll show you a breathing technique that helps me, where it kind of helps me center myself and it helps me sort of, sort of like, focus. And it's really good, but it is, yeah, they are. Raimi
It's a
gets
little
very,
bit.
very close to him.
It's a little
Raimi
bit.
gets really close to him and he's holding him for way too long. And it's got this kind of will they, won't they kind of thing where Jaden's looking at Raimi and Raimi's just like, you
It's out
can
of
if
the
you want
blue.
to kind of looks.
It's
Yeah,
out of the blue.
there's
I'd
no
say.
hint of them being like
No.
this. And it's, but the odd thing is, what it reminds me of is it actually reminded me of like Roman culture and that kind of thing of, well, it's a bit of gay culture, it's a bit sort of Roman culture, but it's the idea of kind of like, okay, cool. If I can't put you at ease by you punching me and getting you out of your system that way, and if the breathing technique isn't going to work, then how about we fuck? Like, so I'm willing to sort of do that for you in order for you to get, get out your system and stuff like that. And that's something you see a lot in kind of like going, hey, can I help you in that way kind of thing? And it kind of you get the vibe that Raimi's kind of suggesting it, or that they put it into the scene to kind of go like, hey, this will get the kids loving the show kind of thing. But it does feel weird. The whole thing, because there was nothing we've got hints that Jaden is into guys, and Raimi's got the sort of him bragging about being into guys, but we haven't had anything like that. So it does feel a bit weird, but aside from that though, it's a beautiful scene. It's a beautiful scene where it's basically him showing his mate how to breathe
Yeah. It,
properly. And then we see later on in the episode, Raimi's in the audience when Jaden's struggling, and he's going like, "Hey, do the thing," and Jaden does it, and he gets back on track, and he's able to sort of continue. And it's good in that capacity, but. I hope we get more episodes about Raimi because I don't know if I like him as a character, but it's more the fact of how conflicting he is. He is an absolute dickhead and he is nasty to everyone around him, but he has this massive level of empathy and understanding of stuff. And usually, when we see bully characters or when we see characters who are like idiots, they have this underlying thing. But then for him, he's happily able to talk about his struggles. He's happily able to talk about my expectations of my parents are really high and stuff like that, and I put too much pressure on myself. But then he's still a dickhead, and you're sort of going, "This is a weird arc," But yeah, anyway.
it's like the character is not thoroughly defined, and I feel with Raimi that
They're throwing him around into different situations.
yeah, with Raimi, it's like they wanted him to be the arsehole, but then they've sort of pivoted halfway through and went, ooh, actually, we could do some sort of redeeming arc. But then we can't do a redeeming arc, but then we do this weird scene with Jaden. And
That's it. It's like it's kind of like Worf in TNG, where Worf is a dickhead. Like
Yeah.
Worf throughout like TNG and DS9 is always on the wrong side. Whenever there's anything where it's like you have to be on the good side or the bad side, like in the Drumhead, he's on the bad side. He always is. Like, but that's because that's his mentality, and he means well though, and that's why we love him. But it's the fact that he is consistent. He is consistent as this character who's like, yep, if someone suggests, how about we just punch him in the face and settle it that way, he is going to side with that. But we know that, whereas Raimi is flip-flopping for this whole series of going, even in his bloody sexuality, where it's just like, okay, right, cool, I guess he's
and it's
into Jaden, okay.
it's hard to get a read on the character. It's hard to understand the character, and that means it's, you know, sometimes it can be hard to like the character.
And I'd like to say that that was something that's a character trait that maybe it'll go on later, but I don't think it is. I think it is bad writing. I think it is them just going, we need a character to do this, and it can't be Sam, it can't be Genesis, it can't be Caleb, so I guess it has to be Raimi doing this.
Yeah.
And the only things I need to do are complaints, which is obviously we have Advance. Well, the last thing I want to complain about is Admiral Vance, who we called Advance earlier.
I love the fact we're calling him Advance.
Yeah, that's it. But he just before the big battle that you didn't like, he says, "Oh, we should pray to the Klingon gods," and you're like, "What Klingon gods?" Like that seems like an oversight in writing.
Careless.
We get it, but it's like Kahless isn't a god. The Klingons killed their gods. Like that's the whole thing. Like the term god is a Klingon term for like Kahless is a whole
really
thing. It's like Buddha, where Buddha's not a god, but he's a figure you worship.
But really, isn't that a symbol of the ignorance of the Federation, where they don't understand their allies enough to go, they don't have gods.
But that's it. It is. But it happens too late in the episode.
Yes.
It happens after the moment in the episode that we've gone, oh, we now understand the Klingons more. So having it, like, if it was earlier in the episode, like he was saying it when he meets with her, you know, with Ake earlier, but the beat doesn't hit as well because we've already established that there is a difference between the two cultures and Starfleet are trying to get better at it. But then... yeah, you know, but then still sort of on the bridge of the ship that you're about to do this thing and still fucking it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
But well, welcome to recommendations. I've just seen him
Jason.
pop up in the chat. Ooh, Jason.
Ooh, I'm loving your new shot. I'm loving your new short videos. You are built like a British outhouse. We've got the Canadian shed and we've got the British outhouse. So, yes.
I'm a Birmingham caravan.
Oh.
There's not even a roof.
Mouldy and no tyres.
That's my Tinder profile.
Anyway, come on.
No, we're done.
Are we done?
I've done everything yet. Cool.
We're done. That is
wait. The Doctor of
Raimi.
The Doctor of Raimi is a twinkle in your father's pants was one of my favorite things in the entire thing. But yeah, that's it. Okay.
Is that it? Oh yeah, I love the Doctor. I love the Doctor in this episode. I want to see more of the Doctor. I'm wondering when we're gonna get Tilly, because she's in one episode, and hopefully,
It'll be the finale.
Probably.
It's gonna have something to do with the burn. I think
Next week is apparently the almighty episode 5 that everyone has been talking up. So will it be good? Will it be pants? We do not know. But this has been our review of. Oh my god, this has been our review of Vox in Excelso. My headphones were both on ears, so on both my ears, so I was like. Thank you so much to everybody who has tuned in the live chat today. We value and appreciate each and every one of you. What do you think of this week's episode of Starfleet Academy? Let us know in the comments below, because we read each and every comment and we want to have a conversation with you. Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? And if you don't like the episode, Why don't you like the episode?
Well,
Give
that's
us
it.
something to discuss.
Yeah, that's it, because we need it, because they're all valid opinions. Like, as long as it's not the whole, like, I didn't watch it, but I know I hate it because I've seen pictures. It's like, fuck off. Watch the episode, then dislike it. Like, well, actually, watch episode 2 onwards, because episode
Yeah.
1, I remember that I was like, yay, there's loads of action in Star Trek. That's exactly what I want. But yeah, like, but it's the idea of give it a go, you know? Like, because it is a good show. I like it.
If you liked this review, please leave us a like. If you didn't like this review, leave us a like. I am being a greedy bitch. If you're not a subscriber of Trekking Up North, please click that subscribe button. We are growing. We are growing.
Oh my word.
Oh, this is, I just think you're very I think you're pretty. We are going, we want to share our love of Star Trek far and wide, and we want to build a massive community of passionate Trekkies. That is why we have got a free Discord link in the description below. All of our other friends who also have YouTube channels and Spotify channels can be found, such as Trek 365, Recommendations of Transporter Room, Captain's Quadrant, yada yada. You all know that. Also, you can find myself on all my socials down below, as well as the Velvet Snatch and Synoiz down below. And the one question I do have is, Synoiz, will you be twitching tonight?
Oh, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. Final Fantasy VII, Synoiz.
I do really want to play. Okay, yeah, I will stream.
Yay!
I really need to tidy the house because I've got guests staying
Yes,
this weekend.
I need to tidy as well.
But we will work this out. Yes, I will stream for like
tidy.
an hour. Okay, I'll stream for an hour.
I will tidy as you tidy the chocobos in Final Fantasy VII. There was tiny little chocobos in
Chocobo.
Oh, the little chocobos. But thank you so much to everybody. We will be back next week, recorded live. Who knows? We have got such hectic schedules. I will be exhausted. He will be stupendously. I might be bald next week. You might have a full head of hair.
That's ahead of a week.
We might,
That's a hell of a
we might enter an Iron Storm and switch roles. Like you might be sat here next week. Thank you so much to Science Officer Synoiz, as ever, the delectable Geesian from the planet Honk. I have been Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate. I want you all to stay safe, look after each other, and as ever, on Trekking Up North,
Miles.
Miles.
Your sorbet sucks. Now get out.